1607, Pocahontas of Virginia.
This is a picture of an Indian and guarding John Smith tied up to a rock.
Fun facts. The Indians watch the English, but the English don't see them.
7 years later, Pocahontas was married to settler John Ralph.
Pocahontas tried to learn the way of the English.
John Smith was captured and taken before Pocahontas, brother of Powhatan.
Pocahontas considers Smith as a brother.
Radcliffe accidentally shot John Smith.
John Smith plans to shoot Pocahontas, but he realizes she is kind and beautiful.
Pocahontas saves John Smith in 1608.
1607, Pocahontas of Virginia. The English were determined to form a settlement in southern Virginia. A London investment group calling itself the Virginia Company outfitted a small group of adventurers. And with the blessings of King James, eye falling on the breeze, the settlers sailed out to the New World. The riches of the continent awaited them, as well as the glories of finding the passage through to the Indians. After the journey of 18 weeks, they made landfall in April, choosing a site north of the ill-fated Roanoke colony. Right away, they began to build their outpost, called Jamestown, neither knowing nor caring that they had walked into the great Powhatan Empire.
The Jamestown settlers concentrated their efforts on building a fortified trading post and storehouses and houses for themselves and a church. The Indians watched with cautious interest, noticing how little time the English spent on sowing crops that would feed them in the months ahead. Each meeting was tense with suspicion and mistrust. The Indians saw no evidence that the English were planning a short stay. The English looked upon the Indians as ignorant heathens, only waiting for a chance to plunder and kill. And among themselves, the English quarreled as their supplies ran short and their bellies went empty. They feared to leave the protection and go to the fort to go hunt the abundant game in the forest. They wore their heavy armor and lived in a state of perpetual alarm.
There was one person, however, who went between the two groups, honored and cherished. This was Pocahontas, the young daughter of Powhatan himself, the leader of all the Powhatan tribes. Pocahontas decided decisions between them and her people. If not for Pocahontas, the Jamestown settlers would have perished of hunger in their first few months.
Among the English settlers was John Smith, an bold and intelligent man. As the first winter at Jamestown turned bitter, Smith went up the Chickahominy River in search of corn. He was captured and taken before Pocahontas, brother of Powhatan.
Although he knew something of their language, Smith was reluctant to try pleading for his life in a strange tongue. When the word might seal his fate, so knowing how interested the Indians were in the English tools and weapons, Smith pulled out his compass and presented it to the Pocahontas. The instrument caused wonder and astonishment as the needle swung around to point north, and it was agreed that Powhatan himself should decide what to do with John Smith. Under guard, Smith was taken to Wircomico, the large thriving capital of Powhatan Empire.
Powhatan sat on a raised bench, dressed in a rich robe of raccoon skins and draped in ropes of pearls. Around him were his counselors and his wives and children, including little Pocahontas, her father's favorite. A feast was brought in, and Smith was invited to eat with them all. Powhatan and his advisors spent the meal discussing what to do with Smith, who ate warily, not sure at all what to make of it.
Then Powhatan ordered 2 blocks of stone to be brought in, and Smith was forced to kneel before them and rest his head upon them. Around him, the guards raised their clubs high. Smith was preparing himself to meet his creator when he felt a rush of air and a light touch of deerskin and feathers. Pocahontas had flung herself across him. Powhatan called out an order to the guards who lowered their clubs and stepped away. Smith always believed Pocahontas had defied her father to save his life, although it may have been a well-reassured ritual to adopt Smith into their family. But from that time on, Pocahontas considered Smith to be her brother, and in the years ahead, she was the key to the success of the Jamestown settlement.
Note, 7 years later, Pocahontas was married to, some say kidnapped by, settler John Rolfe, who took her with him when she returned to England. She died after contracting smallpox shortly after arrival.